Lamb to the slaughter and a quiz ആണ്. Question number 1. Why is Mary Maloney smiling as she waits her husband's return at the beginning of the story? She loves him and always finds his return a blissful time of day. Next question. What is Mrs. Maloney's job? Police detective. Next question. Mr. Maloney tells Mary he hopes she will not fuss about his decision. How does he justify this demand? I'll give you money and see you are looked after. Mr. Maloney can be characterized as disloyal and untrustworthy. What is Mrs. Maloney's motive for going to get the lamb from the freezer? She thinks she should go about her business as usual and then things will be all right. What is Mrs. Maloney's reaction as her husband gives his news to her? She goes from horror to disbelief. Which word does not describe Mrs. Maloney's immediate reaction to realizing she has killed her husband? Remorseful. Which pair of words best describes Mrs. Maloney's actions after she kills her husband? Resolute and clever. Why does Mrs. Maloney go to see Sam? She needs someone such as Sam to be a witness that she was out of the house when the murder was committed. When Mrs. Maloney returns home from the grocery and sees Patrick's dead body on the floor, how does she feel? She pretends she is very upset. What evidence is there that the police have not ruled out Mrs. Maloney as the murderer? They tell her that they are looking for the weapon. What do the police do after the murder with the What do the police do with the murder weapon? They eat it without knowing it is the murder weapon. What was the Maloney's usual habit for dinner on a Thursday night? They usually went out for dinner. Why does Mrs. Maloney go to the grocer? create an alibi? Why do the policemen eat the lamp? They are hungry and don't want to offend Mrs. Maloney. Why does the detective say that the murder weapon ought to be easy to find? He knows that it must be very big because it damaged the skull so badly. Why does Mrs. Maloney giggle at the end of the story? She is responding to the ironic remark about the weapon being right under their noses. Identify the type of irony the police are looking for the murder weapon because that is the key to them finding the murderer. But they unknowingly eat the murder weapon instead. Identify the type of irony. Dramatic irony. Who wrote the lamb to the slaughter? Roald Dahl. In the beginning of the rising plot, Mary Maloney is waiting for her husband to come home from work. Anxiety is feeling worried. The definition of blissful is extremely happy. If something is congealed, it is turning from liquid to solid. The room was warm, the curtains were closed, the 2 table lamps were lit. The author uses what tool to invite you to the setting? Imagery through sensory details. What description would represent part of the climax of the story? The violence of the crash, the noise, the small table overturning helped to bring her out of the shock. Thank you. That is the end of the quiz.